5 characteristics of someone who really knows how to care one for another. Now, we're living in a world right now where there seems to be more oppression and more fear than there hasn't been for quite a while. Now, of course, depending on where you live, it is either to a higher degree or to a lesser degree. But the reality of the situation is this: the world these days seems to be a little bit more dangerous than it used to be. And so it is absolutely essential that caring and compassion be a quality we especially exhibit to those that are less fortunate. You know, in Matthew chapter 25, it tells us that one day people are going to have to give an account on how they actually dealt with the vulnerable. Years ago, a lady named, of course, Mother Teresa, she was a nun in Calcutta, and she was especially helpful when it came to the vulnerable. And one time she was asked the question, how is it that you can reach out to the vulnerable? How can you reach out and help the leper in Calcutta? And her answer was simple. She says, I look at each person that I minister to as Jesus in his distressing disguise. And so it is absolutely essential that you and I are instruments of healing and restoration, instruments of love and forgiveness in a world that seems to have forgotten those very qualities. And so today, I am going to give you 5 characteristics of people who walk with, of course, a careful attitude, not just, walking around being careful and safety, but people who actually walk with compassion and with empathy. And of course, the first quality of a caring person is compassion. It is absolutely that we would walk with kindness and love in this world today. We need to recognize today that there are more and more people finding themselves in vulnerable positions. It could be because of economics. It could be because they have faced difficult situations and difficult circumstances. You know, life, unfortunately, is not always fair. Life is can be actually rather harsh and judgmental. And so when someone knows that there's someone caring around to help, it is amazing. Over the years, when I was working, especially in the broadcast industry, the radio station that I was involved, one of the organizations that we would actively promote was, of course, the Hope Mission in Edmonton. Now, Hope Mission is actually one of the major organizations in the province in which I live. They have outreaches in Edmonton, in Wetaskiwin, in the city of Red Deer, and the city of Calgary. Of course, the city of Calgary and the city of Edmonton are the 2 largest cities in our province. The city of Calgary has over 2 million people, and the city of Edmonton has almost 2 million people. This organization of Hope Mission, it started off with a group of pastors and people that were deeply concerned about the vulnerable and the homeless in the city of Edmonton. It has expanded, of course, to, of course, the entire province. And they literally minister to thousands of people every single day. They actually have a school program that feeds children who, of course, are dealing with food insecurity. In the city of Edmonton, it's around 15,000, and in the city of Calgary, it's about the same every single day. Monday through Friday, they will supply a meal in different schools throughout both the city of Edmonton, the city of Wetaskiwin, the city of Red Deer, and the city of Calgary. And we had the privilege, of course, of doing radiothons with them. And in that way, we were able to raise hundreds of thousands of dollars, even during difficult economic times, because we reminded people that you need to walk with compassion. You know, the great Iroquois leader, Ketchikan, which I've used as an example before, He was, before his conversion, was a fierce warrior. Mercilessness. He didn't walk in mercy at all. He would easily slay his enemy. But after he became a Christian, he was known as one of the most compassionate men among the Iroquois nation and worked for the benefit of others. And when he was asked, about his transformation, he says, what I tried to do is I tried to walk in, of course, the moccasins of that individual. Compassion is, of course, an incredible quality. It's a quality of love. And of course, love is patient and love is kind. We've often said here on these broadcasts that we need to walk with kindness every day. If you can't be anything else today, at least be kind. Kindness is a quality of love that reaches out to the vulnerable. And boy, oh boy, does that be needed today, especially in my nation of Canada and in the nation of the United States, where it seems that, especially in the United States, that these days, if you happen to be an immigrant, if you happen to be someone that is of a different color, you could find yourself either being arrested or deported. And it almost seems to be the very nature and the very thing that the government is doing down there. Let us stand up for the oppressed today, because one day we're going to have to give an account. Secondly, you need to walk with patience. My, oh my. Unfortunately, life is very, very tough on some people. And instead, of course, of allowing life to, help them, it actually hurts them. There are more and more people that are being hurt today. And there is a reaction to that, of course. And that is that they are now becoming more and more what I would call prickly. They are becoming more and more hurt. They are being more and more drawing into the negative and not the positive. There's lots of toxic people out there. They didn't start off as toxic people. When you look at this, at a baby, for example, and you think to yourself, they are so innocent and so vulnerable, and then something happens, and they begin to get hurt, and they stay hurt. And before you know it, you have someone who is thinking that everything is wrong and that everyone's going to hurt them. And they then begin a very damaging lifestyle where they go and hurt people before they are going to be hurt. And unfortunately, it can cause all kinds of damage. You also have people who become arrogant and self-absorbed because people enable them. And you and I need lots of patience today. We need to walk with wisdom today. We need to walk with discernment. We need to walk with understanding, because the simple fact is that not everybody we meet is going to be absolutely wonderful. I was listening to a story yesterday about a young man. He said, I was 13 years old. And he says, when I was, he says, I saw this girl. She was sitting off by herself. She wasn't all that pretty. She was a little bit overweight. And she said, I was sitting with my friends. And he said, I think I want to go over and sit with her and talk with her. And the guy said, oh, no, you don't want to do that. So he left his two friends and walked over and talked to that young lady. And he says, in the course of about 20 minutes, he said, I discovered that she had a couple of things that she really liked. She said she liked chocolates, and she also liked as well to have, notes of encouragement. So he said, I went to the principal and he said, I would like to put in this girl's locker a note of encouragement and some chocolates. And he said, I know that she seems very vulnerable. And so anyway, the principal said, that sounds like a lovely idea. And so he was able to open up her locker with the permission of the principal, and he was going to put in this note of encouragement and also as well this chocolate. All of a sudden, a piece of paper fell out, and he says he looked he went to pick it up, and this piece of paper had all kinds of notes that she wrote about herself, how that she hated herself, how she wanted to do harm to herself. And it was in that moment, he says, I didn't want to look. He says, I just saw these statements in of course felt marker, red felt marker, and he said, all of a sudden I realized that she was feeling about the self. Well, afterwards, of course, and he had written a note of encouragement with his name, and she sought him out that day and said, thank you so very much for the chocolates and so very much for the note of encouragement. She said, I was actually considering killing myself over the situation. He said from that moment forward, he was highly motivated to minister to people. He says, I was 13 years old at the time. He says, I was in grade 7. He says, in grade 8, grade 9, grade 10, grade 11, grade 12, and now in university, he's looking for individuals that he can, of course, walk with patience and compassion. I thought, what a wonderful story. What a wonderful testimony. When was the last time you looked for an opportunity to help somebody? When was the last time you opened a door for someone? When was the last time you sat with someone and gave them a word of encouragement? You maybe today find yourself in a food court and you see someone sitting over there by themselves looking rather discouraged. Go over and talk to them. It would be amazing what you can learn. Robin Williams in the movie Patch Adams, he says, when you invest in people, you never lose. And that is so important. Also, as well, to be a caring person, not only walking with patience, but also walking with reliability. There is nothing more important than being a person who does and follows through with what they say. Years ago, I watched a movie called Rob Roy, one of my favorite movies, in fact, and it's starring Liam Neeson. Liam Neeson played this Scottish Highlander, and he was a man who kept his word in a world and time where, someone's word and someone's promises didn't mean much. It's kind of that way today, where a lot of people promise they're going to do something and they don't follow through. Lots of people these days are long on promise and short on delivery. That's why dependability is absolutely important these days, because we don't have a lot of people today that think being reliable and dependable is, of course, a quality. There was kind of an interesting dramatic presentation on social media where you had this man who was, going to hire this young lady. And this young lady was, she was exemplifying, of course, the young person of today. And he said, you're going to have to come to work at 8 o'clock in the morning. And she said, really? You want me at 8 o'clock in the morning? She says, I'm better at around 10:30. She says, because at 9 o'clock I go and do my workout, and then at 10 o'clock I go have my grande cappuccino latte. And he says, I need you to get here on time. That is what having a job is all about. And then she starts going on and she says, well, I really feel that you're not validating me right now, and I need to talk to someone at human resources. And he said, you don't work here. And it was exemplifying what is happening today. We have a Disney culture out there where people are basically treated as kings and princesses, not recognizing that the real world does not care about how you feel about things. Your boss wants you to do what you have been designed to do in your job situation. In my first job, for example, I worked in a trailer factory, and I got a real eye-opening experience because in my first day there, I realized that my employer wanted me to do what they wanted me to do. I had agreed to work for them and to do what they wanted me to do. My job was boring. My job was, hard work. And it was then and there that I realized, you know what? life is not always fair. And sometimes employers are asking you to do things that are uncomfortable physically, spiritually. But the simple fact is that when you sign up to do a job, when you sign up to be a certain type of situation, you need to be reliable and dependable. When you care about others and show respect for others, you, of course, are going to be reliable. You are going to show up and help when you need to be. There are so many people who say they're going to do something and they don't show up. So it's important to show up and to be reliable. Also, as well, communication is absolutely essential today. Of course, 80% of good communication is the ability to listen. It was James who said in James chapter 1, verse number 19, he says, "Be quick to hear, slow to speak, and slow to anger." You and I have an opportunity to show good communication skills, to listen to the story of other people. I have discovered in my lifetime how that people love to tell their story, and they need to have someone tell their story too. You know, During the summertime, I ride motorcycle. And over the summer, I often find myself at Tim Hortons on White Avenue in Edmonton. It's kind of the biker place. And the same as well as Blackjack in Edmonton as well. I go there as well. And I love to listen to the motorcycle people talk. And it's wonderful to hear their story. And it doesn't take very long for them to tell me their story. And I love to hear their story because it makes them feel important. It's important for us to listen to people. It's important to listen, not to answer, but to listen to, express love and caring for one another. The best way to show, of course, that you care is always look at the person. Don't look away, but look right into their eyes and show them that you care. Communication is absolutely essential. Ask questions and also, as well, show them practically that you care. Lastly, of course, is respect. Now, we've often said that we give respect and we earn respect. Maybe just by listening, by being reliable, by being compassionate and patient, you show respect. Also, as well, understand that people are looking to get respect. In fact, it has been shown in several surveys that men, especially men, consider respect the highest quality that can be given to someone. Men expect and desire respect. And they also, as well, work, of course, to give respect to others. It's a quality that many people, of course, don't understand. I've also seen people on social media who say, "I demand respect." Well, unfortunately, you can't demand respect. You have to earn respect. How do you earn respect? By the qualities that I've already talked about, by walking in compassion, by walking in patience, by being reliable and dependable, and by being able to communicate that you really, really care about people. Jesus said this: we are to love the Lord our God with all our heart, soul, mind, and strength, and love our neighbor as ourselves. What Jesus is basically bringing across in that particular statement is this: that when you respond to love, you know what's going to happen? You are going to begin to be healed by the process of love. When someone loves you, it really can change your life. And then as you get healed through the process of love, you begin to reach out in love yourself. That which we receive, we need to pass unto others. That's what the Apostle Paul said. So when you are walking and have received love, compassion, patience, reliability, and communication yourself, those are the very qualities that you'll want to demonstrate to others. And in this way, you are showing respect to other people as well. And they will see that, and it's amazing what one thing can happen. I remember this one Coke commercial. back in the 1970s, where there were a bunch of young people sitting on the hill. It started off with a young lady going, I want to teach the world to sing in perfect harmony. And then she would light a candle and give it to somebody else. And the candle went across, of course, the line, and then it went to the second line and the third line. And as they were panning out, there were a whole hillside of young people talking about, of course, giving everyone a Coke. But the message was very clear. We light the candle of someone else. We show love. We show respect. We show communication and reliability and patience and compassion and empathy, not just sympathy. Sympathy is, hey, I'm sympathetic towards your situation, but will it move me to help? Empathy says, I understand what you're going through. I'm trying to identify with what you're going through, and it moves me to help in some capacity or not, basically, but a capacity to help. And so when you demonstrate these 5 qualities, again, they are compassionate, patience, reliability, communication, and respect. You will go a long way in improving your world. And we need to improve our world. And we do it one act of kindness and to one person every day. Just today, make it your aim to do that opportunity to be able to do that. A word fitly spoken is like apples of gold in pitchers of silver. Do that today because remember, we're living in a world right now where everything seems to be sliding out of control. It seems that it's getting more and more interesting every single day. We see it happening in the United States, but it doesn't just happen in the United States, it happens around the world. You and I today can do something in our world. We can minister to someone today with, of course, compassion, with patience, reliability, with communication and respect. That is my encouragement for you today and for myself today as well. Now, let me give you a little word of encouragement. And please, if you like what you're hearing and seeing, always press the like button and subscribe to my YouTube channel. Also, as well, check out my YouTube shorts. Every single day, I put these little snapshots, vignettes, little, communication encouragements for you and I every day. They're usually under 1 minute long, and maybe it will be something that will encourage, inspire, and also as well brighten your day. My name is Robert Dean Steele. Thank you for joining me today. Have yourself a great and godly day. And today walk with compassion, patience, of course, reliability, communication, and with respect. And when you give that to others, it's going to come back to you. Remember, whatever you sow, that is what you're going to reap today. Have yourself a great and godly day.